And, Daniel, may be interesting. A part of could be reviewing, making it as a way to review for the group. That's a reasoning to get to them too.
Yeah.
So it gives them an opportunity to do that. And if they want to do it on the first, they can be so kind to do that. Okay, so we're live streaming. Everybody's here. Everybody's coming into focus. I welcome everybody taking the time out in your lovely afternoon. One of the few times it's not raining that I enjoy it, to see the sun. We'll see how long that lasts here. Any comments, questions, something that I need to address before we get started? Everybody okay? Everybody's as centered and raring to go. Okay, and I don't know what's with Ryan, but we see his fan. So this is good for remote service. If we can send an electrician and you can kind of show. See, my fan is not working quite well, but we'll hopefully we'll work it out. Okay, so do I have 2 enthusiastic volunteers to moderate the chat? Let me know what's happening. Anyone? Okay, Anthony, are you in a car or what?
I am, but I'm about to get to my apartment. So
okay, so you know what, Anthony, why don't we do it another time while you're moving back and forth? Okay, I want people to be safe. I don't want to be moderating in cars. Okay, any others? Okay, Kendall, great, and Robert. Okay, Robert, we're now Robert. We're more sophisticated. We're not Bobby anymore. So I'll call you Robert today. Any other time we'll see what it is. Okay, so Robert and Kendall will do our moderating jobs here. We're set here. And Josh, how's it going today? You're like in the witness protection program this week. I hope not. You're right. So in this case, we want to show each other our shining faces here to show our credibility and our being as authentic as possible. Okay, so what I want to do today is answer any questions you have. We're basically looking at information systems. We're looking at information technology. We're seeing where AI comes into it. And my goal is we will always have problems, right, George? And what we want to do first is to be able to articulate, even when we have problems, to be able to convey that to someone that may be able to help us. And many times, just a person on the street can think about logical ways to help, but many times it's the authors of the programs or the vendors of the hardware. There's a combination that we never know to do. So one of the first things that we're doing, right, Reagan, is learning how to document a lot of our issues. And one of the things that we did is by using Zoom, right, we were able to record to the computer sometimes because we don't have to have internet access. It saves it onto my computer. Also, the advantage is if you are using a free version of Zoom, it can save to your computer. We can save to the cloud on the Zoom's cloud. We can know how to live stream so other people can use it. We were talking about ways in which we can get closer to not only our own colleagues, but we can get closer to our clients and our suppliers as well. So we did that. Then we thought about Zoom is not the only type of recording. What we want to be able to do is have different recorders. And I asked everybody, right, to choose a screen recorder. Sometimes they call it screencasting program, and something that you haven't used before. Because in the Mac, for instance, it's built in to use QuickTime to be able to record. There's others there, and we gave you a few examples, but it's easy just to search in different ways and find what are the best recorders. And I'd like you to, while you're thinking about those recorders, not only think about where's it recording to, meaning is it recording to my computer, is it recording to the cloud? What are the advantages of that both? And also the time. Some of them in Loom you use, George, did Loom have a limit
I'm not sure if it's-
on
Oh, you
the
mean a time limit?
time that you could record?
Yeah, yeah, it does. It didn't affect me, but it does because I was reading it on ChatGPT the other day.
Yeah, your
But
audio,
it
I
didn't
don't know
affect
if
me.
everybody
I
else
don't know
is.
exactly.
Yeah, does Issa, do you have problems hearing or is it just on my end? George?
No, I can hear.
Okay, good. So in this case, that's going to be important. The file type you have and where it's going to fit. Okay. Then we talked about information systems and we talked about the hardware of information systems. We talked about the CPU, the central processing unit. We talked about primary and secondary storage. And Kylie, you remember that primary and secondary storage?
Yeah.
Okay. And who can tell me what's the difference and who cares? Raise your hand if you can tell me the difference between primary versus secondary storage and what's the difference. Raise your hand if you can tell me. Sophia, go for it. And you can use your aids.
Okay.
I give you the purpose that you can use your aids. In the class, in your test, you will not be able to use your aids, but you'll be able to prepare with all aids. So Sophia, go for it. So what's the difference between what is primary storage? What is it sometimes called?
I don't know what's usually called, but it's like where you store things temporarily. So it's like data, like program instructions, like things that aren't necessarily going to be used later. It's like more of an instantaneous thing. Oh, it's called RAM.
Okay, so
and then
let's make sure we realize. Let's have a conversation, Sophia. It's good because it shows in this way where we need to hone in. And it's just like practice, Sophia. So what I want everyone to be is articulate when you talk to someone that you can understand it. So basically, when we talk about primary storage, why is it called primary? Because when we ever, and then you all can even put in your notes, whenever we use a program, it gets stored, that program, in the primary storage or in memory a lot of times. And part of the memory, a big part of the memory is called RAM, random access memory. And the reason why, Sophia, it's called volatile or temporary is that when you shut down your computer, that software goes away. So when you're going to be saving any of your work, you're going to make sure that you don't save it. You're not saving it in RAM or in primary storage or in memory, which are synonymous terms, but you're storing it where, Sophia? As a backup.
as a backup
In secondary storage, right, Sophia?
Yeah.
Secondary storage is where it's stored. Now you can have several copies of secondary storage, right? You can store it in the cloud, right? You can store it on your hard drive. You can store it on a memory stick, right, Sophia? So that is the key. And why is RAM so important is RAM is where basically that's where the work is being done. And what's helping that work being done, we talked about it, is once we had that RAM, which is volatile, we have the secondary storage. Sometimes it's called external storage. So when you ask somebody, Sophia, how much memory do you have? People get confused between their hard disk size versus their memory size, their RAM. You remember, Sophia? We asked everybody go and look at it. What is usually smaller?
It's usually the RAM.
Yeah, the RAM. Yeah, right. You're going to get more confident. So, Sophia, why is the RAM? Because it's going to be quick
And
and
it's not going to hold for that
it's
long.
not going to hold. It's not holding all my programs. It's only holding what I'm working on now. So if I'm working on a PowerPoint now, that's what it's holding. It could have other things in RAM, but what are the problems is sometimes, have you ever had your computer go very slow?
Yes.
One of the reasons is the RAM is getting full. And what it does is if it can't fit the entire program in it, it takes chunks. So it takes parts of it and brings it in. So that's why if we're going to do intensive work, Sophia, we want to have more RAM. And sometimes the software that we use requires a minimum, and the more that we have, the better it is usually. But we saw in the class, some people had 8, some people had 16, some people had 32, right? So it is basically 8 can be enough to basically do a PowerPoint and maybe Word and a small spreadsheet. But if we want to do financial analysis or tracking of our stocks and predictions, some software says we need to have more RAM. You with me? And it's improving all the time. And think about it, we also have part of the CPUs, we have what we call GPUs. Anybody remember what a GPU is? And we can look it up, right, Stephen? We can look that up, right? And what makes NVIDIA so popular, Stephen, is that they are producing those GPUs and neural processing units, right, to make it faster for what? AI. So think about it, Sophia. You've used like ChatGPT or something else in that vein, right? And what is so important is they have basically billions, trillions of data there, and it's coming so quickly, they need a lot of processing. And what do they need? A lot of those processing is those what they call graphical processing units, everything around there to process it faster. I'm just giving an overview of where we were. Okay, Lily? So I'm giving an overview of where we were. And then we talked about once I have my hardware, then in order to, whenever I turn on the computer, there needs to be a system that controls everything. What's going to appear on the screen? Sophia, you're going to save something to your hard disk. You're going to send something to your iCloud. You're going to make a backup. You're going to save your Excel spreadsheet. Maybe you're going to print something once in a while. All of that is done by what kind of system? Who can tell me what kind of system will operate the entire work? What's it called? Raise your hand. What's it called? Brandon, what's it called? An operating system, right, Brandon? Remember that? And we talk about, and Gianna, what kind of operating system are you using right now on your computer?
I'm not sure. I remember we went over.
Okay, what do you have a Mac or you have a Mac?
I have a Mac.
Okay, Mac. So it's some kind of Mac operating system, right?
Yeah.
You have an operating system and you have a phone, Gianna?
Yeah.
And what kind of phone do you have? What brand?
I have an iPhone.
iPhone. Do you think they have an operating system?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a device just like a computer in the way that you can run applications, right? And you can download, right? You can save, you can run applications. So what kind of operating system is that for the iPhone? What's it called, their operating system? Who can tell me? Raise your hand. Ashri.
iOS or like
iOS.
a specific one?
You remember you have different versions, but it's called Gianna, it's called iOS. And you say, who cares? Right? You know that. Why does it matter? Because if Gianna, you've downloaded an app before. Am I correct?
Yeah.
When you download an app, that app has to match your operating system, the operating system that you have on your device. So on your Mac, it's a different, even though they're both Apple is the vendor, right? they have different operating systems for their laptop, and they have a different operating system for their phone. It has to match. So whoever wrote the software had to keep in mind for what operating system it's for. So when somebody does a phone app, the most popular operating systems for phones are what? Stephen, James. It's iOS, and what else for a phone?
Probably what the Samsung equivalent is. I can
Yeah,
look
that's
that
what
up.
is. So look it up if you don't know, right? You have a computer in front of you, Stephen. Everybody look up. He says a Samsung phone has a different operating system than
Yeah, it says that
Mac.
it's Android. It's Android.
It's Android. Why do you need to know, Stephen? Even though if you have an Apple, you have to know, because if you're having a company and you want to create apps, you have to have a team. You have to be able to tell your team, hey, we'll start off with iOS, but do you want to skip that whole group that have Samsungs or have Google phones or have any other phones? Why skip those guys? Right, Stephen? So you know that your group of programmers need, or you yourself need to have it run on Android. Just like, and what other for the desktop? Somebody that doesn't have a Mac? Who here doesn't have a Mac? Okay, Hunter. And what is your operating system?
Windows 11.
Windows 11. So, Stephen, if you have a Mac and Hunter has Windows 11, you say, who cares? You all care, because if they're in your team and we're using software, we have to have equivalents for running the software. So if you're using, Stephen, Microsoft Suite, and Hunter's using Microsoft, Hunter will be using a different version of Microsoft Suite, of Excel and Word. And there may be some differences, right, Hunter? That in Excel may be, since it's native to Microsoft and Windows, you'll have some features that Stephen doesn't, right, Hunter? So it's basically, you need to know, or if there's a financial software program that you're going to be using, Stephen, you're going to have to, the first questions you're going to say is what operating system it is. And they may say, don't worry about it. It's web-based. It's a browser-based. A browser-based is just go on to, let's say, Chrome or Firefox or Safari, and it'll run there. It's not dependent. So that is the reason. Do you see that, Claire? That's the reason why we need to know it. My whole idea is not just to be able to spit that out and know the acronym of what does OS mean, that it means operating system, but to get together why, if I'm going to be running a business, I'm going to be running a team. I may not be even writing the code, but I'm going to need to know about that operating system. Everybody with me? So Austin, we have something else called an application software. So what we have is something called, we have an operating system that it's going to be part of my software. And then I have application software. So I need to figure out, and all of you need to figure out, is what's the difference between an operating system software, which is like what? iOS or Android or Windows, or we were using the Mac OS, Sequoia or Sonoma. Where then does application software fit in? So Filippo, give me an example of one application software you know for your laptop.
I'm sorry, I'm searching on ChatGPT, but it's kind of slow today, so I didn't get the answer yet.
Okay, fine. So let's see. So Kylie, did you understand my question? My question is, everybody tell me one application software that's running on your desk, on your laptop.
Would that just be like Zoom?
Zoom is one. Perfect. What else? We got so many things. What else? All the screen recorders that we did, right? That's right, Filippo. That's an application software. What else? Excel? What else, Kylie? Anything that you're using, right? When you download something on your phone, what do you usually say you're downloading? You're downloading a what? Kylie.
What? Sorry, can you repeat that?
When you download, have you ever downloaded anything on your phone?
No.
You've never downloaded anything. You never
Just like a file on my computer.
a file on your computer. And what else? Do you have Instagram?
Oh, like an app?
Like an app? Beautiful.
Oh.
It's like we rehearsed it. You're pretending now, huh, Kylie? Like an app. An app
No.
is it's like second nature to you, right, Kylie? What is she asking me? Well, of course I've downloaded apps before, right? And that app, what do you think that's an abbreviation of? Application software, right? So it's application software, but we call it what? Apps. Why do you think they call it apps? Because it's an application software. You're not downloading your operating system, right? You're downloading applications. You download on your phone, and then you have applications also on your what? On your laptop. Those are all applications that you're using. And I don't have to tell you, and now more and more, right? And ChatGPT, that's a what? Is that an operating system? What do you think, Filippo? You were looking up ChatGPT. Is ChatGPT an app? Filippo?
Yes.
Yes.
It
Of course
could be
it
an
is.
app and also not, right? If you
What?
just use it in the web, it's not an app, right? But you
Well,
can
it
also have
is.
the app.
It's an application, but you may
Yeah.
not be downloading it, right? You're using it from your browser. It's basically where it's been stored. So you can have they call it software as a service, is they're hosting it, right? It doesn't necessarily have to reside. An application, perfect, Filippo. It's like you really are fine tuning it and getting me to be more specific that it's great that an application that I use within a browser doesn't necessarily doesn't necessarily download to my computer. It resides as a browser. And that's why when we think about the cloud, every time you think about it, it's cloud-based. Have you ever heard that, Filippo, that term cloud-based? That means, how do I get access to it? Through a browser. Some of these recording systems, have you started, Filippo, have you started your assignment?
Yes, it's complete. Yeah, I use the OBS Studio.
OBS, okay. Did you download it to your computer or did you use a
Yes.
browser?
No, I downloaded it.
Okay,
I downloaded it from the browser, right?
Okay, you downloaded it from the cloud to your machine, but there are screencasting programs or screen recorders, Filippo, that you say, I'm in a computer. I can't have anything on my computer. I don't want to download anything on my computer. I don't trust what it is, or I don't have permission. You're in the library. They don't let you download. You're in the airport using somebody else's computer. They don't allow you to do it. So what you want is you want a screen recorder that's what? Browser based. And it saves where? OBS did it save to your computer or did it save in the cloud?
Locally. It saves in the
Look at
computer.
how you're speaking. It's right now, right? It's saved, Filippo, it's saving locally. What does locally mean? Local to your computer. Sometimes they call it on premise. On your premises, it's saving it. And why do I care? Because sometimes you may be someone, Filippo, and say, everyone in my organization, I don't want you to download software. I don't know what you're going to download. Use it in the cloud. Or you may say, you know what? I don't want people to always, sometimes I want it to be here. What's the advantage? Have you ever had a time when you didn't have internet access, Filippo?
Yes.
Yeah. So you want to have it. If there's a hurricane, something like that, something goes down, we have it. Could Zoom go down? Zoom has gone down before. you know, other software, not many times, but sometimes, soon as I want to get on, I think last semester I want to get on and Zoom was down. So I basically, how am I going to get to the students if I'm teaching online, right? So we got to figure out other ways, you know, that we can do it. Okay, very good. So now, given that's the fact, that was what we talked about in software. Our next part of our assignment is what we call database management systems. And my key here is to tell you that data, Kylie, is everywhere, right? Data about me, data about you, data about the news, data is everywhere. If we wanted then to do some work about our students and figure out, I want to get the best students that are the most successful and love to come to this university. Let's say, Kylie, me and you are in the recruitment office, right? And what do we want? We don't want to have the worst students, do we? We want to have the best students, but we also don't want to have students that wouldn't like being at this university. It's special, don't you think, Kylie? Where are you from?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota nice. That's why you're so nice. Have you ever heard that, Kylie?
Yeah, I have.
Is that true? Minnesota nice?
For some people.
For some people, compared to Miami, do you think Miami, have you gotten the nice business?
Yeah.
I mean, I think people are people, right? And you find good people everywhere.
Yeah.
So the idea, though, is we want to find people that really would like this. So what we want to do is gather data, Kylie, that can see what is the characteristics that those students that succeed well and love it here, because then we're going to say maybe in Minnesota we should get more people, because do you know many people from Minnesota here? I don't.
Just like a handful.
A handful. And if I say in the class, who's here from New Jersey, raise your hand. Do I have anybody? Right? I'll have somebody. Or so they say, hey, we're going to really recruit from Jersey, New York, Northeast, Maryland. I don't know. But so they're maybe saying, hey, Kylie, maybe we can hone in on those people from Minnesota and they give us some data on that. All of a sudden you think about data, where we're going to collect it. Think about what I want to think about the class now is what is in common with everybody here on our call today is everybody's associated with the same university, right, Brandon? Everybody's associated with the same university. So think to yourself and even write down in a notepad or something, or type out, what type of data does the university have about you? Everybody understand my first assignment? Layla, what I want you to do is just jot down while you're here, give me 6 items of data that the university has that stores with you. Everybody jotting that down? Madden, did you understand my question?
Like previous of like before we came to the school, or
Well, it doesn't matter. Just now. Say just now. Let's go present. Then we'll talk about what they had before, right? We'll talk about recruiting, right? If Kylie and I are recruiters, we want to go out, and do you think they know about you? They're searching now about certain students that they want to recruit. Let's talk about just present students. You're here. What kind of data do they have? So we'll go around the room. We'll start. So everybody, and in this case, we don't have to worry about looking it up in ChatGPT, right? This we can figure out. So Layla, give me some things that the university would have about you. Data.
well, they have my emergency contact.
Okay, first of all, they have your first name, last name, right? They have emergency contact. What else?
GPA.
GPA of probably what you did before,
High
but also
school
even, let's even just think about they're keeping a track of your GPA within this institution. Your major,
Yes.
right? Where do you live, Layla? You live on campus or off campus?
I live off campus.
You live off campus, so they had your address. Did you ever live on campus?
No.
No. So you have off campus. Okay, they got that. What else?
But they also have my home address.
They have your home address, meaning your permanent address, right? Your
Yeah.
home, right? They have
Yeah.
where you live now and an address of your home, or with, I guess that's where your parents are living too, or whatever. We don't have to go into that. Okay, what else? Who else has some other things? Okay, that's for Layla. Okay, Ryan.
So obviously they have like all of your academic records. They have like your financial information
Okay,
regarding
well,
like
let's be
tuition.
specific, Ryan. All those records and stuff. Let's be specific. We're going to be data. We're going down to the detailed data. So tell me,
Okay. So
financial.
they have like
what?
They have like your grades, transcripts.
Okay, so we're
maybe
okay. So
awards
they
you've
have the
won in high
grades
school.
from right. So Layla said GPA, but they may have even my individual grades, right? They have it by semester. What year are you, Ryan?
I'm a sophomore.
Sophomore. So they have. Did you go here as a freshman?
I did.
So they have all your freshman work, and now they have this. Okay, what else? When you said financial records, what is that?
Like they have like your tuition and fee payments.
Okay, tuition fee, right?
They have like financial aid applications.
So let's go into the detail of the data. What is that? Financial aid. I don't want to be vague. I want to.
If you received like scholarships or grants or anything like that.
Scholarships, grants, right there. The loans that you have. They have your credit card information.
I don't believe so, but they have like your bank account and billing information, I think.
Bank account, billing. They may have a credit card information. What else? Who else?
They have like maybe like vaccination records and like some of your health.
That's the health center, right? That's another part, right? So these are all groups. So basically, if I can think about it, I have the registrar, right, Layla? The registrar is the one taking care of my grades. I have financial aid, Ryan, that you're taking care of. And Reagan, what school are you a major of?
I'm in the business school and the College of Arts and Sciences.
So you're in two. You're in the business school, has data about you, Reagan, and arts and science has data. And then Ryan told me the health center has data about me, right? How many people have been to the health center? You go to the health center, they have all your vaccinations, right? They have all, can you imagine all? So the health center. Anybody have a car on campus? Raise your hand. If you have a car on campus, so what? Parking has, and what does parking have? The type of car you have, right? And all your information, the license plate, the type of car. Who's in sports here? Anybody in the sports program here? If you're in sports here, right? If you're Anthony, what sports?
I play baseball.
You play baseball, Anthony. If you want to be a famous baseball player, right? We want to be able to see your face, right? We can get all right. We can have that. So anyways, if we have, then in baseball has all your statistics, right? And do they keep track of how you're doing in school? Anthony?
They do.
Are you on the team now?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, if I go to Blackboard, if you go to Blackboard on your audit section and you look at users, you'll see there are other people that are following you, Anthony. Did you know that on Blackboard?
No, I had no idea.
See, go do it. Go into audit area, right? And if you go into audit under users, you will see your name. I don't know. Look in your name. There's a number of people in the classes that people are following them. I didn't put it in. But just by you being, I don't know, you'll check it out. I don't want to, you know what I mean? That's your personal information. I don't want to put that out there. But these are things. Now, we got to, this is all what, Ryan? Data, right? Now think about it. Each of these schools, each of these, the parking division, what else? The health center, the library. Who's ever at the wellness center? Anybody go to the wellness center? The wellness center has about me. Intramural sports. Who lives on campus? Anyone? You think they have any information, Madden, about you? Sure do, of what dorm you're in, what meal plan you're in, all of your information. Now, Layla, you live off campus, right? You decide to move. You want to go up and coming, right? Let's say you want to move to, I don't know, Fisher Island. You ever been there? You have to go with the car there, right? You have to go. I went to visit one of my former students. She lived in Fisher Island. So she invited me for her wedding shower. I go there. I had to take my car, right? Put it on. It was a whole big thing. Let's say you move to Fisher Island. Where does your data need to be updated? It has to be updated in the registrar. It has to be updated in parking. Where else? It has to be updated in the School of Business. For Reagan, it would have to be in Arts and Sciences, in the department. Would that be a pain to get it? And who cares if it had to, let's say it had to be 30 times updated. So what happens is, why is that a problem? Stephen, why is that a problem if 30 different departments have your data and you make a change to it?
Because that's gonna mean that you're gonna have 30 different departments that have to go back through and edit that,
I know,
and that
and
probably would be
let's say
difficult.
you also move and you move to Miami Beach, let's say, right, Stephen, or you move to Brickell or whatever. Who's going to tell them all that's moving? Do you have to go to 30? I wouldn't want to go to 30 different places to tell them I'm moving. You wouldn't do that. And what do? They have to reach out. How do they even know you moved?
Yeah, they wouldn't know unless I told them all.
Right. And if you needed something to be sent to you, some records or something to be sent to you. So my key here is they have something called a database management system. And what a database management system is what do you think it is? It's trying to put the data in one area, Reagan, so that you wouldn't have a lot of redundancy. And Reagan, if somebody was looking for a female, what's your major, Reagan, now?
I'm in finance and French.
Finance, and needed somebody finance. And as a matter of fact, I just met somebody that has a French company that's doing like digital twins and needed somebody that it knows French and has a GPA, let's say, of greater than 3.7 and is willing to travel, something like that. I wouldn't have that data, right? So if I could have the data all at a certain time, then I could query the data. So if you think about that, is in our next chapter, when they talk about data, the challenge of managing data is just like what we talked about. Data governance. So let me share my screen. Right. Do you see my screen, Reagan? So basically what we want to talk about today is data and knowledge management. And the whole idea, Reagan, is what we call data governance. And my question to everybody is to figure out, what the heck does data governance mean and who cares? And we've already talked about data governance in basically, when we think about it, is we need to have in an organization rules and regulations about the data. Who owns the data? So think about it, Stephen, that Hunter was telling me about, let's say, financial aid, and Ryan, let's say they were talking about your health care, right? Healthcare has to become private, right? We got to figure out data governance. Who's in charge of the data about you? And it may be based on department. When I do a grade change, there has to be policies for it, because guess what, Ryan? Do you have the role to change your own grade?
I do not.
You do not. You'd like to, right? Right. And do you think, Ryan, in payroll, do you think I have I can change my own salary?
No, I don't think so.
No, right. So they have different roles. There's somebody that just takes care of salary. There's somebody that takes care of registrars, just of grades. I can change the grades of what? Of only my students in my class. Ryan, if you come to me and you say, you know, Dr. Rush, I did really well in, what's your major, Ryan?
I'm a finance major.
Finance, in this finance course, and I got a B+, but you know, Dr. Rush, I know that inside and out. Can you please change my grade in finance? Of course, I'd say, you know, Ryan, you did an excellent job. You aced all my tests, but I do not have permission to change your role. So in data governance, it basically, organizations set up rules and regulation on, just like government, who is able to change the data, who is able to even know what data we're going to collect on someone. So we're going to be basically talking about what we call databases, and this word relational, put in your notes there, relational, another word for relational is like tables. It's like connecting sheets. Stephen, do you know have you ever worked with Excel?
Yes, I have, Professor.
Yeah. And have you ever worked with more than one sheet?
Yeah, I've done multiple ones with like the tabs.
Yeah. So you can do multiple sheets there. That's like a database. Think about it. And then there's something we call big data, and that's really where we're talking about AI, right? Because really, is it big data when we talk? The stock market is big data and explaining its characteristics. And we'll also talk about a data warehouse and the idea of a data warehouse. You know what a warehouse then is, Layla, right? We can store, there's storages there where we can store something in a warehouse. What they do is they have a place that they store data, and they store data that's outside of many times of what I'm using in real time, and it's something that I want to do what? Future studies in. So these are kind of ways in which this is going to, and basically, just like we've talked about other problems in IT, there's difficulties of managing the data. And we just talked about that, right? If I think about it, if I talked about, Layla, that you changed your address, that's the difficulty of managing data, because where does that data need to be updated? Who do you even tell? Even if I moved, I don't even know who I'm supposed to tell that I moved. So there's going to be problems with the data. And one of the difficulties of managing the data is to make sure that that data is accurate, and not only accurate, that we're going to have it increase. We know that we're always going to have it increase. It's going to come from multiple sources. So, for instance, there's multiple sources about me, right? If you want to know about Dr. Rush, there's multiple sources. There's within the university and outside the university that has data about me. There's news sources, and there's something called data rot, that I have data and it basically is not up to date. And of course, we know that the data has to be secure. The data has to have integrity, that I can trust it. So Kendall, when I see that you have 4.0 average that any recruiter says, hey, this data has integrity, I can know that I can rely on that. And there's a lot of times government regulation. Any of you that are in finance, for instance, there's banking laws that require banks to operate among government regulation. If you're in the hospitals or medical, there are regulations that you have to follow. If you're in education, there's an education, we have to follow certain regulations. Some coming internationally, coming from the United States. So in this case, when I think about it, it can come from internal sources, personal sources. My data governance is the approach to manage information across the entire organization. Our entire organization right now, Kylie, is what? The university, right? So if I think about the university, that is your data, Kylie, across this entire university. Do you think that would be an issue? Of course it would, right? They have to make sure, they have to maintain it. They have to maintain it that it's going to be private. They have to maintain it that if they have your credit card, that it's true. They have to maintain it that they can have it not only on their students, they have to have it on their products, they have to have it on their vendors. The university has a lot of vendors. So this has to, somebody in the university has to take care of this data. And more than one person has it. And guess what, Kendall? If one person leaves the university and I'm charged, let's say, in the registrar for student grades in the undergraduate, if I leave, then we need to have backup of people to do it. So we have data. And what I do, let me just go back here. Let me just go back. What I talk about is that I have data that has a hierarchy. And this is how it goes. Let me just. Go to my content. And I'm going to Wiley and Adaptive. And you see here on my chapter 5 and my managing my data, my database approach. So on my managing my data, don't you love it? This page doesn't exist. Let me go back. Let's see if something else exists. Does it all not exist? Okay. By the way, Daniel, can you check on your end if when you click on like the data, it works?
Let's see.
Because my links aren't working. Always
The
find
textbook?
Yeah, the textbook. Which is interesting. Is yours?
It's loading. No,
Huh?
no, it says this page doesn't exist.
Right, we gotta fix it, right?
The adaptive works.
I know, but we gotta do this thing.
Yeah.
Good to look, huh?
Hmm.
Huh? And we assumed it worked, right? Because it worked for the other chapters. So
Yeah.
everybody understand what happened? Is the links aren't working and we just assume, right? We're in charge of the database. We were just assuming that it was working. So what is important is we have something called a data file, and a data file is a collection of logically related records. And let me just give you an example of what that is. So they call something a data file, and it's a collection of records. Everybody think about a spreadsheet. Bobby, you think about a spreadsheet, right? A spreadsheet. If I had a spreadsheet and I had the name, let's just even do this. This is interesting. If I had, let's look at this one. I'm going to do my adaptive assignment. Let me open my assignment. And in this case, my open assignment here, and I go to students. You see this, Bobby? You see it, Bobby?
Yeah,
Yes,
I see.
no?
Yeah.
You can think about this as a data file. When I'm looking at my students, you think about it as a data file, right here, student name, time spent, questions, current process, and their grade. A student, put this in your notes, Bobby and everybody else. A data file, the collection of records, is like as a sheet in a spreadsheet. A record is equivalent to a row in a spreadsheet. An attribute or field is like a column in a spreadsheet. I'm just going to use SS. So when this goes to a data file, think about it as like a sheet, a logical related record. So when I have my grade book, Bobby, I could have first name, last name, right? Test 1 and test 2. Just like when you look at your grades, I have all my grades. And over time, then it becomes a data file. And what is this data file in a database management system? They want to put my data together, Bobby, to minimize, and you're going to need this for the test, is you're going to have to minimize 3 main problems. What did I say about the first problem of having your address, Kylie, in 20 different places? It's called what? Data redundancy, right, Kylie?
Yeah.
Your address, why would you want to store your address 20 times or 30 times or 40 times? A database management, instead of just being in a file in each department, we're going to reduce it. Another problem, if someone is on the baseball team and I need, somebody's asking for an internship of somebody that's in a sports team, if the data is isolated, will I know about that in order, Reagan, to give like a scholarship? Somebody comes to me and they say, we're looking for someone that's majoring in finance who is also on a, in this case, on a sports team. I have no idea, right? My records don't tell me that, right? I know your majors, right? I don't even know what your GPA is. I don't even have access to that, right? So that's data isolation. And give me then, in this case, Ava, an example of data inconsistency. Data inconsistency is various copies of the data don't agree. So in our example for changing your address, how could that be data inconsistency? Can you imagine that, Ava?
Yeah, so like you might have something written down, but then if it changes, then obviously it might not be updated yet, so then that could be inconsistent.
Right, right. Or, you know what? Let's say, what major are you, Ava?
I'm business management and global business.
In global business. There's from the
Yeah.
same department?
Yeah.
So maybe the data inconsistency is the management department got your change of address, but the school of business didn't get your change of address. Or your change of address wasn't updated by the registrar. That's data. So they have one address in the business, in management, another address in the school of business, and another address in the registrar's office. That's what we call data inconsistency. So put this in your notes here. Minimize a database management system. Minimizing is basically used to reduce this, because we're going to put the data in one at a time. What we do want to maximize is data security, because if we're putting it in one place, Ava, and let's say I put, for instance, that GPA in one place, if it's hacked, what happens, Ava? It's going to be more vulnerable because it's in one place. I don't have other places to back it up. So I want to maximize my data security. I want to maximize the data integrity that I can rely on it. And I want to rely that my data becomes independent of each other, that when one thing gets maybe deleted, other data parts do not. So you can think about this as the registrar's office, the accounting department, the athletics, and basically all of that information goes into a database management system. So, and you get to produce course listings, student tuition, athletic teams, student athletics, but they all are put in this database management system. And this is going to be important that you need to know, which is the data hierarchy. And we'll go over this in the data hierarchy. This is how it goes. It goes a bit, which is just a 0 or 1. A byte is a character. A field then is like a column in a spreadsheet. A data file or table is like what I said before, is logical grouping of records. So it's like a sheet. And a database is related tables or related sheets. So we have here the hierarchy of the data. You need to know this, that here I have the university data, I have files, I have tables, I have sheets, I have database. I have records, I have fields, I have bytes, I have bits, but what we really know is this, what? The student and his, what the major is, the name, the major, and some information. Just the top end, and faculty. So this is where it goes. And then we'll talk about this later. Don't worry about this for right now, but we'll talk about this next time. So that's why it's so important that we understand about data. Everybody understand now, Kylie, that we are so flooded with data. That's not our problem. It's how do we organize that data? How do we keep that data secure? How do we then ask questions that we can forecast better? Because do we know the future, Kylie? Of course not. But if we have the data to help us forecast and we can rely on our models, we keep on trying to make our models more and more reliable and more accurate. And that's why where AI is coming in is that it's helping. But the whole problem with AI, you can see it, is that we need that hardware to take care of it. We need to have the right software, and we need to have the right tools to keep track of the data and maintain the data. And that's why the universities are a little bit fearful, rightfully, of what's going to happen to my data. I let everything out there. Even they're fearful of using a lot of this AI because they're saying some of it is confidential. We don't want all these vendors to get out there and take our data. That's what a number of companies are worried about, right, Kylie? Think about it, is they're saying we need to be secure, but we don't. But again, we can be so secure that we're not able to do our jobs well. That's kind of like almost the fight all the time where I have with the IT people is I want to do my job and you're restricting me. And I could see their point of view, but it's still frustrating me. And I said, you're holding me back. Okay. So who wants to take a roll for me?
I can do it.
Good. Anything in my my group here that I need my moderators, anything that's not clear? Yes, no? Unmic yourself, my moderators.
I didn't see anything in the chat.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything either.
Okay. But everybody understand that, Reagan? Does that start making sense to you about why? Because you say, who cares what these names are? I want to bring it down to earth and make it available. Okay. 3860 is the way. We'll spend some more time. We'll give you everybody knows the assignment. Guess what? We're so lucky we're going to get another assignment next time. Zach, isn't that great? And then we're going to learn something new again, right, that we can use. We have an exam coming up. Did you know that, Zach?
I think October, right?
Yeah, in October. We got to know the right date, right? And
October
also what's going to
8th.
be, what?